Huge warm welcome to day 2 of Config. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone here, online on the live stream. We're so happy to have you. If we haven't met yet, I'm Rachel Miller. I'm one of the engineering managers on Figma's team.
And my name is Megan Benarzik. I lead design for the Collab Tools team at Figma. And we are your hosts today for the mezzanine stage.
Woo! Thank you. That made me feel so good. But even more importantly, we have our first talk of the day up next. We are going to have Zach Lieberman, who's an artist at MIT Media Lab, telling us about his personal practice of making a sketch a day for the past decade.
I'm already so impressed. Please give a warm welcome to Zach.
Good morning. It's a pleasure and an honor to be speaking to you about daily sketching. I've been making something every day for the last 10 years in code. I want to start with a quick introduction. I used to look like this. I studied painting and printmaking, and I had to get a job, and I learned about a tool called Flash. And from that moment, I discovered coding and this notion that you could write a line of code to make something move, and I fell in love. And everything that you see in this presentation is created with code. I write software. And I saw this quote recently. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, said, kids shouldn't learn to code, they should leave it up to AI. And I have to say, I fundamentally disagree with this. That computation is the central medium of our lifetime. And it's not just a technical medium, it's a cultural medium. So I'm exploring the culture of code. I'm making these sketches, these animations every day. And I've been doing this for 10 years, making thousands of images, thousands of videos. And I want to tell you a bit about my journey and how I got started and kind of what I've learned along the way. So it all started January 1st, 2016. I made a New Year's sketch. And I had this habit of making a sketch every year to celebrate the new year. And I fell in love with this algorithm of light and reflection. So I started to experiment with light and reflection, and every day I would make a sketch exploring where the light was coming from, where the light was bouncing off of, sometimes doing things that were quite crazy. And I was showing these sketches to my stepdaughter, and at some point she was like, you have to change, you're doing the same thing. So she became my art director. So I started to sketch with blobs, and I was exploring these organic, natural forms and seeing how they could move, what kind of stories I could tell with them, making images, stretching them, trying things like 3D that feels like 2D or 2D that feels like 3D, seeing what happens when I extrude the form. I even tried putting my face on the blob. She didn't like that at all. But really, the idea of sketching is to take simple ideas and remix them every day. So I want to show you what I mean by that. So there's an algorithm where you can take 3 points, and this algorithm will find a single circle that fits within these 3 points. And I fell in love with this algorithm, and I started to explore what other points I could apply it to. So I tried a walking person, I tried dancers. Another example of something that started simple was inspired by the design firm Lava, and they made the Beijing Design Week identity. And I really appreciated this kind of simple use of geometric forms. So I recoded this, and then always I feel like my job is to do like volume knob 11, to just turn the volume up and see what happens, to take the same graphical idea and see what happens when you change it and change it and change it, and see what sort of essential truth remains. And I try color, I try shading. Another simple idea, this is a line that only moves in a circular path. So it wants to catch up to the mouse, but it can only get there by moving along a circle. So oftentimes my sketches start with a simple gesture, but then I try extruding it so it looks cartoon-like. I try shading. I try color. I'm not allowed to talk of this because of an NDA, but you might have seen this in a package design or a wallpaper. But the sketches, I try to take the same idea and change it and change it and change it and see what remains. One of the things that I teach coding, and one of the things that you learn to code right away is to make a bouncing ball. This is one of the first things. It's very simple. It's great. It teaches you about variables and conditions. But I thought, what if the ball was bouncing? But what if we could change the perspective so the wall was bouncing off of the ball? So I like asking these sort of what-if questions. So I started with this. Then I tried 10 of them. Then I tried 2, and I was seeing, okay, how could we normalize it? And then 3, and then 4, and it got a little bit broken. And I like it when things get kind of on the edge of breaking. I always try to take sketches to the extreme and see how they break. Now I want to pivot and talk about the lessons or the motivations. So one of the motivations for me in terms of sketching are these 10 rules for students by Sister Karita Kent. And I share these rules with my students. They're all really beautiful. But I like, in terms of sketching, the rule 7, the only rule is work. If you work, it will lead to something. And I really like this kid had to write, I will make better choices over and over again. And you can see by the end, he's optimized it. The L is a single line. And if you have to do something again and again and again, you're going to make shortcuts. And those shortcuts become your style. They become your personality as a creator. One of the challenges of being an artist is that it's impossible to see how other people see your work. And this is a superpower that I wish artists can have. And I learn through sharing my work. For me, it's quite interesting to see how other people see it. And I think about this oftentimes like a matrix, and sometimes it's very straightforward, like I like things and people like it, I don't like it and people don't like it. That's straightforward. But those interesting moments are the moments when I like it and people don't, or I don't like it and people do. And those are moments where I learn about how my ideas are in and out of harmony with the world. So for example, I made this sketch. I was working on something else. I was frustrated. I made this really quickly. I didn't like it at all, but people loved it. And that was this moment where I could see how other people were seeing my work and learn something from it. People always tell me what to do. And so my favorite response, I'm very friendly, but I'm like, DJ does not take requests, because I don't want other people's voices in my head. As a creator, there are so many voices that are telling you your work is not good enough, don't post that, that's stupid. There are so many voices. And I think it's really important to have an empty mind and to listen to a single voice, a single solitary voice, which is this childlike sense of wonder and curiosity that got you excited about the medium in the first place. But sometimes people write really beautiful things like, this reminds me of another artist, or here's what I see in the work. And these comments are doors opening for me to new worlds. Sketching is a diary. And when I look at the sketches that I've made, I can remember where I was, I can remember my mood, I can remember the weather, because they all impact the way I'm making. I think a lot about this quote from the rapper JME in one of his songs. He says, music is the reason I make music. I am the person I make it for. And this really resonates with me. I love this medium. I'm making this work because I love this medium, and I'm making it for myself. I saw this kid on the subway, and he had Snap spectacles, camera, a phone, and I'm taking a photograph of him. So there are so many cameras in this moment. And I think artists need to be like this. And so this is what my hard drive looks like. This happens a lot. But for example, I have a folder on my hard drive called Everyday, where every sketch that I make, everything, every screenshot winds up there. And they are breadcrumbs that I can use to follow to find my way back to different visual ideas or expressions. And the sketches are really based on how I'm feeling. So for example, after Trump was elected the first time, I was feeling really sad about the political situation and happy about the new year. So I was trying to express this weird duality of being happy and sad at the same time, or even this feeling that we were living in a kind of cartoon universe. I found these images of ink on my hard drive, and I tried to experiment with how I could paint or sketch with ink, creating textures. I recorded my hand and connected them together to make an infinite line. I've also done a lot of sketching with augmented reality, so this is recording photographs and having the photograph stay in the air where you took it. So you move around, and it creates a kind of fragmentary image. Or recording frames of video and having the video stay in the air where you filmed it. And then you're using your body. You become the playhead, and you're scrubbing through the video by walking through the video. This is fragmentary images, so breaking the image based on color, so there's one vantage point where the image looks correct, but as you move, the image starts to break. This is recording audio in space, and then you can walk through the audio to replay it.
This is a test of talking and seeing what happens when we record audio in space. This is a test of talking and what happens when we record audio in space.
So in addition to making animations and interactive works, I have also, through the process of sketching, been working on making still images. And it happened that I bought this printer, and I was never using it, and I would come into the studio every day, and it was kind of taunting me. And one summer, I just gave in, and I started to make prints. And I was reminded of the joy that I felt as a printmaker. You do all of this work. You put a paper in water, you put ink on a plate, you pull a print, and at the end, you're holding an image. And to me, there's something magical about having an image that you can hold, that you can put on your wall, that you can live with. And I'm really inspired by the painter Jack Whitten. Jack Whitten had this notion of making a painting. He wanted to make the painting in 15 seconds. But he was also a carpenter, and he would build these elaborate constructions that would help him make the painting as quickly as possible. And I feel the same way. I'm creating this elaborate system for making images through shader programming, and I'm making these images really quickly, but the machine that I'm making to make them is quite complicated. And I feel as if I'm a nature photographer, and my job is to find moments, to build these living systems and find moments and capture them and print them and share them. And I share a few projects related to stills. This was a commission by the film studio A24, and this is for the film Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is the songbook reader. So this is the sheet music for the soundtrack. And the film is all about transformation. And for this project, I took the same piece of code, and based on the moments, the emotional state of the movie, I changed the code for each one of these songs. So I created an image for each song on the soundtrack. And I spent a lot of time listening to the music and trying to find a way to capture the feeling and the mood of that moment in the movie. I've also been really interested in sunsets and how to use the algorithms related to sunsets in a computational way. I've been really inspired by different artists. This is an artist named Joe McKay. And he has a project called Sunset Solitaire, where he's matching a real sunset live digitally. So he's trying to match all those colors. And I love this notion of using a computational system to have a conversation with nature. Or the artist Cassandra C. Jones, who stitches together photographs of sunsets to make an endless sunset. And I've been exploring these algorithms of atmosphere and sunsets and trying to figure out how to work computationally with these colors and bring the sky and bring the sun into my sketches. And I had this experience one summer where I was living on a boat for a little bit. And it was beautiful. It's beautiful to live on a boat, because if you want to go swimming, you just jump off and you swim. And every night, I would spend time looking at the water. And I remember looking at the light on the water and thinking, in a million years, I can never code that. What I'm looking at, it would take me millions of years to figure out the algorithm to code that. But when I got back to the studio, I started to experiment with the feeling. What did I feel looking at the light on the water? And could I capture that in an image? So I did a lot of experiments around light and reflection and sun and thinking about sun on the water. And this project is a set of images. So these are 100 images. And the notion that I had was almost as if there was a summer and you were paying attention to the sunset every day, you were extremely locked in, and every night you were watching the sunset, you would see all of these different colors, you would see all of these different feelings. And I thought of this almost as a stop motion movie of a really beautiful summer where you paid attention to the sunset. I've also been really fascinated with light. So I showed you some of those sketches that at the beginning use light and reflection, and thinking even about light and color. And have been experimenting with different algorithms that are looking at light, but not just the light source, but how the light could blend and the way the light might look along the wall. Thinking about how the light would move. And I really fascinated. Oftentimes I think about light and color and geometry as those building blocks. And every day I'm waking up and thinking about what is the right combination that I want to create to express myself. I've also printed these, and I don't know, no, I kind of know why, but these go viral. Like, all the work that I do, these prints always go viral. And people can't believe that they're printed. And for me, also, when I'm printing them, I can't believe it because it feels there's light or luminosity actually coming from the paper. More experiments with light and reflection. And specifically, I'm thinking all the time about how to use these materials, how to use light, how to use geometry, how to use color, and find the right combination in the right order to express myself. And I want to make images and videos and animations and interactive works that feel luminous, that feel that they have a kind of light energy that they're emitting. I want to make images and videos that bring me peace and share them with people with the hope that they bring other people peace. And I share my work a lot, and I get a lot of feedback. So for example, so this person said, gorgeous and nauseating. When I was young, I had a reoccurring nightmare that looked a lot like this. And I have hundreds of comments like this. I also have comments. People always tell me that my work reminds them of ocular migraines. I've never had an ocular migraine, but I must have had dozens of comments, so I feel like I'm a migraine artist. But for example, this person wrote this really beautiful thing. I made these still images, and this person said, I took some time with these, full size. You wouldn't know it at a glance, but this is time-based work. And to me, this was really profound, that I had made these still images, but this person saw them as a movie, and they took time with them, and they showed me something that I hadn't seen in the work myself, and that really moved me. But I want to end with the nicest thing that I've seen, my favorite comment. I had a bad day. I saw your work. My day is good now. Thank you. And all the time as an artist, you're always asked to write an artist statement and describe what you're interested in. But I always come back to this quote. So I said before, when I'm making things for myself. But really, it's more than that. I make things that make me feel something, and I share them with people with the hope that it makes them feel something. And you never know. But this was this moment of the work meeting a person at the right time. And when I think about the power of, just in general, of making things and sharing things, I'm deeply inspired to be in a conference like this and meet everybody here and see all the amazing things that people are working on. When I think of the power of making and sharing and creating, it's really about making work that meets people at the right time. And with that, I would love to say thank you, and really, I'm deep honored to be here.